Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And I hope we have a great productive session here. I'll make sure that we have time at the end for questions like Ashley said. So first of all, I will give you a little overview of what our objectives are here for today. We want to talk about why would you ever think about bringing payroll in-house, and we'll dispel the objections that people have to processing payroll in-house and show how you can, how GP Payroll can handle your needs. Ashley, we had a couple of poll questions. You want to go ahead and post those now? And I don't hear you, Ashley, at all, but the questions were if you're processing payroll in-house or if you're outsourcing it and how you're handling it. And the other question was going to be regarding about how many employees that you have in your organization. I'll give you a couple minutes here to complete that.
Great. Yep, the poll's in progress. I'm going to close it out. It looks like we have about 40% outsourced, 40% in-house, not on GP, and 20% in-house with GP.
Okay, great. So we have some GP users that might be able to add some good information to the session as well. Okay, so just to get started, since you can't see me live today, which you can be thankful for, but here's a picture of myself. I'm Sherlene. I've been with GP, with BMI and Columbus for about 20 years, as Ashley said. I've actually been a user as a customer on GP Payroll and HR prior to being a consultant. So, and I have a CPA background, so I understand your entire accounting system. It's important to know how all of the debits and credits from payroll need to affect the general ledger. So I love working with payroll and HR, so that's basically where I specialize in my time here. So our agenda is to first of all discuss the two most commonly heard objections to bringing payroll in-house. We'll talk about what others have been saying, who have been there, who have outsourced their payroll, brought it in-house. I'll give you a brief review of some of the Dynamics GP licensing structure and a brief demonstration of the Dynamics GP payroll module.
Sherlene, I think we're having trouble seeing your screen. I wonder if you're going to have to give us permission to view it again. There we go.
Okay, how's that? Sorry about that. And maybe I will just jump back to these other slides to quickly go past. I'm sorry about that.
There's your beautiful face.
Oh, great. So, okay, so picture of me, you can see me. Now you know. You can come and find me at the GPUG Summit. If you come there, I will be there presenting 3 sessions there. And here's our agenda that I read through. And so here we are. So why would we want to outsource our payroll, or why wouldn't we want to bring it in? So the first most common objection to bringing your payroll in-house is people think they just don't have the time. And we will see what some people have said about that in a little bit here. The second major objection is they're worried about the risk. We don't have the payroll expertise, or we don't want to deal with filing tax reports. And I can just let you know that one of my star customers, Caitlin from Elam Care, and we'll see some quotes from Elam Care here shortly, she said that when she started running GP payroll in-house, she actually hadn't really had much payroll experience before that, and she was able to successfully run payroll with good training. It can be done, and we can also, I mean, we aren't aren't your accountants, but we can help you get through those processes the first time and know what to be doing for the month end and those types of things. And just a disclaimer, we see customers going both directions, either to bring payroll in-house or to outsource it. And of course, we're happy to help you either direction. We love to see people bringing the payroll in-house because we do have a great product here, but we, of course, will help you whichever way you're going. Also, I wanted to be sure to let you know, you'll see some testimonials and things that mention ADP as a company. We don't have anything against ADP as a company. There are several outsourcing vendors out there. We see people successfully using all of those. We just wanted to let you know we do see some testimonials about customers that do specifically mention that, but we're happy that you get your payroll done however you get it done. Okay, so what others are saying that have been there before. Let's go take a look at a few of those. So here is a testimonial from a customer of ours that just implemented payroll about 2 years ago now. He said our cost for ADP services was in excess of $200,000 per year, and they run a weekly payroll for about 1,200 employees. So since GP includes the payroll and HR modules for no extra fee once they were trained on the product and the initial implementation of it, the costs are minimal for actually supporting it and running it. And they were able to do this with 1,200 employees without adding additional staff in their payroll department. They actually process payroll. This particular client processes payroll for 3 different companies, and I believe that they have 2 people handling payroll for the 1,200 employees, and that includes some Canadian payroll as well.
Hey, Sherlene, do you want to expand your display settings so we can see just the full PowerPoint versus we're also seeing what's coming up on the next slide on the right? I think
okay, you're seeing the wrong screen then. Let's see here. Sorry.
It's okay.
I want you to see my other screen. Let me stop. Oh, here we go. Okay, how's that?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. Let me go back one here. Okay, so another customer that we've worked with very closely, she says that payroll in GP is more cost effective than ADP. That kind of goes along with what we saw from Phil right before that. ADP charges an amount per payroll per employee. And for her, she's felt like the only difference when she processed payroll was that she didn't have to print the checks. Another large customer, Elam Care, located in Minnesota, they need to be able to process 23 biweekly payrolls, so they do about half of their payrolls each week, and they feel like GP gives them much more flexibility, control over their information, ability to fix errors, spend fewer dollars, and they're processing with 2,400 employees who are on a 24/7 shift. They have a very complex setup using different payrolls, lots of benefit options. I think they have something like 84 health insurance codes, so tons of different, it's 23 different companies actually that they're processing payroll for. So they have lots of different codes, lots of complexity, and we've actually done quite a bit of customization for them as well, and they still feel like it's much more cost effective than if they were processing this outsourced. Another customer says that the reports were difficult to get from ADP. With GP, we have all kinds of tools at our disposal, Smart List Builder, SQL reporting services, other just plain smart list reports, canned reports, over 300 canned reports just within the payroll and HR module. So there's a lot of reports available there. Another testimonial about reports saying that they had difficulty with ADP reports and insert any outsourced payroll. This could be said about any vendor that just is not super user-friendly to work with on the reports. And also just to plug that you want to be sure whoever you're working with as a vendor has a good support team and a specialized payroll support team. Within GP, we have a whole team of people. We call it our HR Payroll SIG team, Special Interest Group. And I have the privilege of leading that group and mentoring those other consultants. So I can vouch for the fact that we have a really great team in-house here. Here's a testimonial about the filing of tax reports with ADP. They do file the information for you, but you as a customer are always responsible that is accurate, and your name is actually going on the line for that. So this customer just felt like, as far as processing and having an outsourced vendor do that, it wasn't necessarily time savings or liability savings as much for them, because as a customer you're still responsible for that. One of the benefits for GP payroll and HR especially is there are a lot of third-party products available. GP as a standard has a very good base product, but almost every customer has something specialized that they need. So there are lots of third-party products or companion products available to fit just about any need. And if we don't have a product that will fit every need that you have, we have great developer services as well that can help do modifications to make that easier for you to work with. Okay, so in a nutshell, with running GP in-house, you've got cost savings. You own it. For GP 2013 and newer, you own the payroll and HR modules along with your GP core package. We've got easier reporting, more options. We've got lots of flexibility and control. You can run unlimited employees with GP payroll. I've seen many customers that run into the thousands, up to maybe 10,000 employees with GP payroll. We've got a lot of built-in integrations, even with companion products and between the modules. So there's elimination of duplicate keying, and we've got lots of customer or companion products available as well. Actually, there's all but about 2 of the big football teams use GP payroll. So you can know by that they're complex. They have lots of local taxes requirements and would have just high complexity or lots of employees, lots of reporting needs, and that all can be handled right within GP payroll. Okay, so within the starter pack for GP, you've got your core financials, you've got some distribution modules, and also payroll and HR, and then we've got extended packs for other features here. This is with GP 2013 and newer. You own as your core package, you own payroll for US and Canada for unlimited employees. You own payroll direct deposit ability to create your ACH files for the bank. You own the ability to create the federal magnetic media file for W-2s, excuse me, at the end of the year. There's features for the Payroll Connect if you are outsourcing. And with Human Resources, again, you have unlimited employees. We've got manager and employee self-service features in the product now, and also a position control feature as well that helps with budgeting. Okay, so other things people are saying, it's easy to learn, it's part of your financial system. You've got your integration automatically between the HR and the payroll modules, as well as between payroll and the GL. We've got robust data management. We know that everything is safe and secure in our SQL database with backups and everything available. We have our complete, hire determination process available within GP, and tons of reporting. Reporting is important to everyone. And now in the latest few versions of GP, we have a self-service. We have self-service modules as well. Okay, so within the extended pack, and this is an extra cost for the extended pack, but that includes what used to be called Human Resources Advanced and Payroll Advanced and PTO Manager and the Benefit Self-Service. Those were individual modules prior to GP 2013, and now they're packaged into what's called the extended module, Extended Payroll and HR Pack. So that includes ability to do labor accruals, to track multiple pay rates, and several other complex things, like complex pay rates, labor analysis, additional options for vacation and sick accruals, certification and license tracking, as well as history tracking on those, employee health and wellness options, and again, your online benefit enrollment options. So there's a lot in that extended pack too. So the next thing I want to do is show you a little bit in the product, and it'll take me just a minute to get my GP over here, but I want to be sure you know up front that I do have some extended things installed in my GP, so I'll try to point those out as we go along, what's the standard versus what's extended or another product. Okay, Ashley, are you able to see my GP okay here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay, so most of you are probably familiar with the standard GP home pages, and I have focused here on the HR and payroll navigation. So we're going to go ahead and start right in the employee maintenance window. You can, if you want to use the human resources applicant module, of course you could start bringing your employee right into that window. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the human resources side of this today, but just to give you a couple minutes here that you can really start from the point of applicants coming into your company. This is not a web-based application system, so a lot of customers want that web-based, and then we do generally recommend a front-end product. There's a couple of them out there that can do that, where they could have applicants apply online and then import into GP, either into this applicant window or directly into the employee maintenance window. So just to show you an example of an applicant here, we've got demographic information on the left, and then over here on the right, we can fill in as much as we want. Of course, it's only the red fields that are really required in order to save a record. So as much information as you put in here, the better information you'll get out, of course. And we've got lots of extra fields available if there aren't fields already to track what you need. 25 extra fields available at the applicant level, as well as employee, position, and I believe it's division. There's, I believe, 5 levels where we have an extra fields window. Also another whole user-defined window. So there's lots of places to put data here. I really have seen very, very few circumstances over the last 20 years where we don't already have a field to track something that you would need to track. Right from this applicant window, we can go to other sections and drag our employee or our applicant along with us. We can track costs associated with this person coming in and traveling and such to come for interviews or for any other things that we require them to do. We can track their education background. We can set up interview question forms and have a place where the interview data could be filled in right online for that employee or for that applicant. We can create offer letters. We can track who their references are, their work references that they've provided. And you'll see the skills and tests area when we get into the employee section too, that that information is all available as employees. So all of this will travel along with your applicant over if you hire them into the employee record, your work history and everything. That stays with the employee when we do the hire process here. So if you do this process, it will actually bring your employee right into the employee maintenance window. And I believe that this one is already hired. Let me see if I can find one quickly. I'm not sure that I have too many other applicants in here. So he's already been hired, so I'm not going to go ahead and hire Charlie Brown again, but I'll just jump us into the employee maintenance window here. So if we had done the hire process, it would bring us and that data right into this window here. So here's Charlie Brown's record that I have saved as an employee. And again, we have our go-to up at the top where we can go to either payroll related windows for the employee or human resources related windows. So you could see some of those same ones that we saw on the HR applicant window, the skills and the tests, for example, were on the applicant, and that information comes along to here. So directly on this employee maintenance window, of course, all of our code schemes are definable. So you can set up your own list of departments, your own list of positions, however they need to be so they fit your organization. Your states and things like that, SUTA states, those are preloaded into the system. You will put in your tax rates for your company since they can all be different. Workers' comp codes can all be different. So these are however you define them to be. So for example, taking a look at the employee position, or excuse me, the position setup window. Again, just the red fields are required. So we can fill in at a very minimum just the code and the description. And I always recommend that people kind of put on their anal accountant hats while they do this setup in GP payroll so that you can get nice, meaningful reports. The better you organize your data as you put it in, the better organized your reports will be. So if you do need to track anything or do any reporting with EEO information, that is all predefined options there according to the standards, and there's reporting built in, of course. Your FLSA statuses are there. You can set up a hierarchy if you want to put in the report to positions for each of the position codes. We can track who the position reports to, as well as how often do we need to do performance reviews on this position, anyone in this position, and we can assign the skills that anyone in this position should possess. We also have ADA physical requirements available for each position, 3 pages worth of physical requirements if you need to track any of that for reporting purposes. And then, of course, there are some built-in reports around that. Again, we have the extra fields. We've got training available here too if we want to link specific courses right to the position for what they are required to take. We can do that. And part of that training and what's required is a function that's in the extended module where you can actually do reporting on what are the required trainings that have not been completed. That's part of the extended module. Okay, so extra fields at the position setup level might be used for things such as grouping certain positions together for reports. So if you have several positions that you want to classify as executive level for certain types of reporting, but maybe it's different from what you've chosen here as the EEO class, we can set up our own groupings here just by using an extra field. Okay, so I'm going to kind of just quickly scan over a little bit more of the HR. One of the pieces that we like to use, or a couple of the pieces that are most commonly used in the HR section, even if we aren't really using a lot of HR, there's a ton in here. So many customers just use small pieces of this, whatever makes sense for you to use. So the top two are the most common that I see being used right out of the chute. Attendance is a way that you can do accruals for time off. And I'll just show you, for example, on this particular plan that was set up, and you can have unlimited buckets. GPHR attendance allows us to have unlimited buckets of time. So you can see here I've set up a vacation code. We have a schedule assigned to that, and Charlie Brown falls into the salary vacation schedule. So let me zoom and show you what that looks like a little bit. So for example, this can do the step accruals, where at first, right away, when their employee is hired, they start earning 5 hours for every pay period. After 12 months, we automatically want them to jump up to 6.5 hours earned per pay period. And after 60 months or 5 years, they're going up to 8 hours a pay period. So that's an example of what you can do with the HR attendance module. There's a lot of functionality available in that. With just the standard GP payroll option, there's just the 2 buckets, one for sick and one for vacation, and you would maintain that more at an employee level rather than having schedules for those types of things. So we would analyze with you what your time off accruals need to look like and help you decide what is the best feature for you to use on that. Back on the human resources, another area that I like to encourage customers to use right out of the chute is the benefit deduction area. The human resources part of this is kind of like a cover sheet to the payroll side. Of course, the payroll side needs to be accurate so that your paychecks deduct properly, taxes are calculated properly. But when there's both an employee and an employer share, the HR side will hold that together in one code for you. So we can see up here, we can toggle to look at just what Charlie Brown is enrolled in, or we can look at all benefits in one window here, all of the benefit codes, and we can choose from here and assign a code to the employee. So for an example, I could go in here to Charlie Brown's insurance code, and I can see there's just only a cost to the employer. Charlie Brown does not have to pay for this, only the employer will pay for this. It's a single policy. We've got co-pays and things set up in here. Again, those are not red, they're not required, so they're completely optional. We also have Affordable Care Act fields in this human resource or health insurance human resources window. So anything that's considered a health insurance type, we can choose our ACA codes that we need to and do some tracking with that. So GP does some basic tracking for the ACA. It doesn't do like monitoring to tell you who needs to have coverage offered to them, but it lets you, it makes the assumption you're offering it, and it lets you put in the codes that need to be populated on the 1095-C reports for the employees. Okay, just to jump over and look at the payroll side of this, and there is a direct link right here. So we're looking at an HR window right now, and at the payroll side of this, we can also see this is a benefit, which is employer share. We're looking at the window name up here, and that part is not subject to taxes in this particular case, but we are filling in a W-2 box number and label down here so that it will land on the W-2 appropriately to report the total cost of health insurance. Okay, so the deduction side of that looks very similar. If there was an employee share to that, you would also see the tax settings for that marked appropriately. Okay, so back to my employee. I'm going to show you just a couple more things on the human resources, and then we're going to jump over to the more the payroll side. So you can track dependents if you want to put in the spouse or the children. I'm going to just pull up my next employee here. I have some additional information entered for Lucy Bossy. Charlie Brown's friend, and she has a spouse listed here. You can determine whether they're covered by health insurance so that that can be reported on those 1095-C reports if you're self-insured. And I'm going to go here to Lucy also. So we can see our employee class ID. I can group my employees like this. Charlie Brown was in a salary group. Lucy is in an hourly group. Going back here to our human resources, lots of different options on here. We can track discipline items. And this window is flexible where you can have an offense number for each time there is a problem, or you can have an offense number maybe for each type of problem, and then you're entering different stages on that problem. So we can see here that Lucy's got a little bit of an attitude issue going on and some problems, so she's been written up and she's even been terminated here. So I won't spend too much more time on here, but I just want you to get a glimpse. There is a lot of information available that you can track on the HR section. We can assign property to employees. We can do performance reviews. We can track skills and training, tests, any of the licensing, any of that. I'll just take a quick look here at the license window with you. Lucy, I have recorded a driver's license for her. So on this, on the licensing and certifications window, you can choose which fields will be read, which ones we will have to fill in each time you add a record to the employee. So for a driver's license, we want to be sure that we know which state it was issued by and what the date of issue was and what the expiration date. Anything else is available to still use on here, but it's optional fields. So with the driver's license too, I've set up what's called endorsements. We can say if there's different types of licenses and we need to know what those are, we can set those up as endorsements and choose which type this employee's driver's license is. Okay. And also just to make a note that in that window, if I go back to Lucy here and bring up her driver's license once more, there is a history record saved. So if you make changes, if you save a license and then make other changes on it, those changes, like when I update my expiration date or my renewal date, those will be saved into this history window. Okay. At the end, if anybody wants to see any other human resources, windows a little closer, just let me know either in the questions or shooting an email, and I'll be glad to help you out there. So to get Lucy ready to pay as an employee, a few other things that we need to do just to get her ready. We need to, I'm going to kind of start in the middle of this screen, and just to clarify here, the pay policies and auto splits and the PTO options, those are all part of the extended human resources and payroll module. The options at the bottom, those are part of a companion product that I've installed from Integrity Data. The arrears is part of what you own as part of GP. The arrears feature is really nice. That allows you to mark your deductions so that if it's a deduction where an employee, let me just pull one up here, where if an employee misses a check or they didn't have enough money in their check to withhold all their money, like this might be one that we would mark as allowing arrears. And for mandatory arrears, your insurance deductions, if the employee misses a deduction, we would want to collect that money from the employee. And so with the arrears process, this is a really cool little feature. You can have that automatically create an additional transaction for the next pay run. So it'll double deduct the next time. You don't have to come in here and change her amount to a double amount and then change it after the next payroll. It'll do that through this arrears process. So that's a very cool feature. I'll discard that. Okay, so going back to setting up our employee, I'm going to start in our tax information window and take a quick look here. This is your W-4 information. And this can be manually entered in here, or if you're using an employee portal product, maybe like the Green Shades employee portal, they have a W-4 section where employees can fill in their own information and it can be uploaded into GP automatically. So those are things to consider when you bring your payroll in-house, as far as if you want to be able to onboard employees through a portal. Green Shades is a good one there. So you've got your settings here that are normal on your W-4 report, your W-4 form, I should say. We can put in our number of exemptions. We can have additional withholding, or if we just want to have a flat amount of tax on a check, this filling in this estimated withholding field here will override all the other settings, and it would just do a flat $300 per pay period. So with your state taxes, you would want to specify what is the state that they're located in as a default, and then we can go right from here to the state tax W-4 window. And GP knows with the tax updates that come from Microsoft that Illinois does not have a filing status for the state. So if this was a different state, for example, North Dakota, where I live, or Minnesota, either one of those states do have statuses. So you can have a different W-4 setting on your state versus your federal just by filling that in here. Okay, I'm not going to save those changes. Okay, so we have our tax information set up. We've got our benefits we took a look at there. We set up our accruals through the HR attendance. Let's go look at the pay codes and how that works. So Lucy is an hourly employee. So I'll take you right to that pay code. You can see here the primary pay code box is marked so that if I want to do reporting to calculate an estimated annual rate for Lucy, this is the code and the pay rate that I would use that with, maybe in conjunction with the work hours per year, which I can record back on the employee maintenance window. You see all of the underlined words, those are Zoom features. So if I click here from this window, it takes me to that employee maintenance window really quickly. And if I click here on the pay code, for example, that takes me to the pay code setup window. So all of these are definable. You can name them what you like them to be named. I'll just show you an example of what this list looks like. So we can make them fairly generic. For example, like your vacation and your sick codes, those can be shared codes between hourly and salary employees just by how they're set up to be based on another code. Okay, so the hourly setup code, we've got a pay type assigned to that, and at the setup level, we've designated what the subject to what taxes it's subject to and what the pay frequency is. And generally, when we're assigning these codes to an employee, we want them to use the same settings from the setup level. We don't want to change these at the employee level, or our 941s and W-2s might not have the right numbers on them. So, but we do have the flexibility of changing them at the employee level if we need to do that for some unusual circumstances. So Lucy's going to get a raise here. We have rehired her and she's going to get a little pay increase. I'm going to send her up to $26 an hour and go ahead and save that. And when we save that change on her primary pay rate, it's asking us if we want to roll this new rate down to other pay codes of hers that are based on this hourly code. So I'll go ahead and say yes, and then we get to give it a reason. That's part of the HR module. I'm going to just say we're giving her a merit increase. And now if I just take a quick look through her pay codes, she's got a bonus code assigned. That has no pay rate because we assign that at the transaction level. She has a holiday pay code, and that has changed up to the $26 per hour because we have based it on that hourly code. And we have her hourly code we saw, and here's her overtime. We have a pay factor of 1.5, so it's automatically calculating this when we change the hourly code to 26. It's updating our pay rate here too. Sick and vacation, same thing. So as long as we've set our codes up in a savvy way so that they're based on the base rate. Those pay rates are easy to maintain just by changing the hourly rate when something changes. Okay, I'll take you back to Charlie Brown just for a minute because I set him up as a salary person. So we'll just take a look through his pay codes. You can see on his holiday, he's based on his salary. So he's getting his annual rate there. I'm going to take you to the salary. We'll put a pay increase in for that. He's making a pretty good wage there. And we've set this to be an annual amount, and the system is automatically breaking it down to the biweekly that we have specified, so we know what his biweekly pay is going to be. I save that, I'll roll it down to the other pay codes, and that's what we do to put in a pay rate change. And we can see his other pay codes. Salary is now the same rate as his salary pay code says. All right. Let's see, did I close my, here's my employee maintenance for Lucy again. So one thing that a lot of customers say they need to do is they want to be able to track multiple pay rates for an employee. So let's say an employee works in a different area part of the time, and they get a different pay rate when they work somewhere else. So that's in the pay policies feature, and this is part of the extended payroll and HR. So if I look at Lucy's hourly code here, I can see her standard position that's on her employee maintenance is the counselor 1, and she's in the support department. And she makes as a standard now the $26 an hour that we had set. But when she works in the admin, somehow she floats over once in a while and helps out there, and she gets an extra $5 an hour there. So based on how this is set up here, she will get a rate of $31 an hour when we give her transactions that are for the admin department. No matter what position we've chosen, we've just said all. It doesn't matter what she chooses as the position on her transactions. But if her department is admin, it'll give her $31 an hour instead of $26. Okay, and we'll see that in a little bit when we go to the transactions. So another thing we want to make sure we do on a new employee is set up our direct deposit. So for Lucy, I've put in a couple of different accounts here, and we can have unlimited accounts per employee. You maybe don't want to be their bill paying agency, but GP really will allow you to put in an unlimited number as far as I know. I haven't ever seen customers really want to do more than about a few, probably 6 or 8 would be the max I ever see, and that's a lot, but you really can put in as many as you want here. So you can have any combination of dollars or percent. So I could put $50 into a savings account, for example, and then the rest of it, 100% of the rest is going to my other account. They can be in the same bank or different banks. You just edit this number to whatever your bank transit number is, and your account number is there. Okay, so that is pretty simple to set up. We can use PreNotes if your bank requires it. I don't see that very often anymore. All right, let me just check on my notes here really quick to see what else I have missed showing you. Sorry about this. Check this back. Here we go. Get you back to that and get me back to where I can see my notes. Okay, so other things that you can do, I won't go into showing it a whole lot, but if you need to do auto splits, there is a way to do that. Let me go back to Charlie Brown. I think I have an example on that for him. And so for example, he is the CEO, and we want his wages to automatically split between the admin department 75% and the sales 25%. So this feature will do this, and again, this is part of the extended HR and payroll module. All right, so we're getting down to about the last 12 minutes here. So I want to jump into the transaction entry process and show that to you quickly. So if I go to, I've got a batch set up. Nope, I processed that batch. So I'm going to set up a quick new batch here and add in a couple, we would put in our pay period dates if we were really doing this for real. And I will put in Charlie Brown. So Charlie is, he is a salary person, so I wouldn't normally have to key a transaction for him, but if he for some reason needs to have a day off without pay, I can do that here, or I can reallocate rather than using that auto split window. I can also reallocate dollars or hours to other departments this way as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and key in that he's getting reduced by 8 hours here. He didn't work quite enough this time, and maybe he started in the middle of the pay period. And I'll also give him some vacation time. And we'll give him 16 hours of vacation. And it's giving us just a little warning that, hey, doesn't have any vacation available to use. So do we want to go ahead and allow that or not? And we will go ahead and say, yes, that's okay. He'll go in the negative. And this is for the comprehensive leave, saying that's negative. And here's a reason. We can choose what he's doing, why he took time off, is this planned or unplanned? And of course, we can set up those reasons and types for what we want. So let's put in a couple transactions for Lucy, and we'll give her maybe 60 hours here. And I'm going to give her a transaction in the admin department. And you'll see her pay rate is changing. Give her a couple hours there. And I'm going to say, you know what, she worked in the support department, but she actually got a pay rate change in the middle of the pay period, which I haven't entered in yet. So I'm going to go ahead and enter another transaction for 10 more hours here, and she's actually going to get $28 an hour for that. So you can see how I can adjust that right here on the fly if I need to do that. And of course, she could have overtime or bonus or anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bonus transaction. I don't remember how I spelled it. So bonuses you could include on the same check. You can see this is coming in as a dollar amount, so it wants dollars instead of hours for this particular transaction. So I'll give her $300 of bonus. So if you want this on a separate check, it just needs to be in a separate batch so that you can process it within a different check run. Okay, so that's a good sample of what you need to see on there. I'm going to drag this over here. So now we're working down our list here on creating a check run. So once we have our transactions all in, and of course, if we were using a front-end product for a timekeeping system, we would import into that transaction entry window rather than keying directly in there like I just did. Okay, so once you have your transactions all in the system, you will then go and build your check runs. So I'm going to go ahead and use the first check run of the month. I can change my pay period dates here if it's something different than that. And I've put in just a range of employees here so I don't get my whole list just to get through this quick run here. We can include or not include our salary people in this run. We can choose if there's different pay period frequencies we don't want to include. And then we can choose for this check run, do we want all of our deductions or do we want just selected ones? So there might be maybe on the third check run of the month, you don't take out all of your health insurance and you can just remove those from the run right here. And you can save them in a default setting that way, so you don't have to remember to change that. You just choose the right default ID. So again, this is the benefit side, which is the employer share. So anytime I'm including deductions for the employee, I want to be sure I also include the employer share. You can select what should be appropriate there. And here's where we can pick and choose from all of our batches what we want to use in our check run. And then go ahead and build that. And this will just take a minute, and it's really pulling everything together. Now, I'm going to skip that because it's for a companion product. It's pulling together who's going to be included in the check run and what codes are in the run, but it's not doing a lot of calculating at this stage. So you'll see here, I am getting some warnings that Charlie Brown is over his vacation available balance. So we would see either warnings or errors on here, and we can go forward with warnings if we are okay with them, or we can back out and fix them. And if they're an error, we have to back out and fix them. So we can see Charlie Brown there, Lucy here. We've got our benefits and deductions and state taxes included, and then we have a few other people adding into our batch also because they're salary. Okay, so next step, or it's going to pull up one more report here. This is just a shortened version of that previous report showing only the warnings and errors, so we don't have to look through that whole list to find just what we want if we don't need to look at anything else in there. If we had more time, I would do this accrue process. That's just the step that you quickly hit a button to accrue through another date for the pay period on that HR attendance. And then we'll go ahead and calculate our checks. And this is going to give us a complete calculation and report of gross to net wages for each person included in the run. And I've turned on all of my pre-posting reports, so those will pop up for you, so you can get an idea of what those look like. So this first report, and this takes a couple of minutes because it's doing a ton of calculations and math in this process, and it's updating many tables that are called temporary tables that are populated just during the check run. So here's our first report, the Calculate Checks report that shows in detail our employee and what's happening with their wages. So you can see with Charlie Brown that he had he has a total of 24 hours being reduced. That was for the 8 hours that I took out of his pay plus the 16 hours of vacation. And you can see that it's splitting his wages 75 and 25% between the sales and admin departments. Then we have our employer share benefits added in there, and that's not affecting net pay unless this would be a taxable item, and then it would affect our taxes only. So if we look at Lucy here, we can see she's got different rows for each different pay rate she's being paid for, and she's got her bonus transaction on the bottom there. These are the employer paid items, and then we've got our deductions that she's going to pay, and our taxes, and our net pay on the bottom. Okay, I'll close out of that. And then I have several reports turned on. I mentioned the first one is the check posting register. This is what your debits and credits are going to look like, and you can turn off any of these reports that you don't need to use at this level. These are all available at the check posting level 2, which would actually be more official than this because this is just a pre-posting report. But you can see for the first employee here, all of the debits and credits associated with that employee. The only thing is that it's an unbalanced entry at this point because of the net pay not being assigned to an account here. That gets assigned when we actually do print the checks. So the offsetting account would just be what's going to go to your cash account. So you can split that out however you need to, pretty much as detailed as you need to get. This report is showing you by pay code how many dollars, how many hours under each pay code for each employee. So that, and then we'll see several more in that same format. This next one is by department. So but for each department, how many hours and how many dollars in this pay run. And I'm just going to go through these really quickly because we are coming up to the top of the hour here. So position register, again, hours and dollars by pay run. And then we have a deduction register. This one is more interesting to a lot of people to see your different deductions that are included and who had those deductions and what the dollar amounts were. And then we have the benefit register. This is the employer share. Another feature I haven't talked about with this is that there's an automatic update integration from payroll to payables. If you need to pay any vendors out for those deductions or benefits, that can create a voucher item automatically. So here's your state taxes. And I think we've got a couple more here. So this is a distribution report. This is by department. For each department on the employee's home department, what are the pay codes being used, dollars and hours, and taxes and the benefits and deductions and net pay for each department total. And the next report is similar to that, it's just that it's a little bit more expanded out into the employee level. So by employee and then sorted by department, you've got all of that same information. Okay, I think that might be the last report that's turned on. So our next step, of course, would be to print the checks. If everything looks good, we go forward. If we have problems, we can still X out until we actually hit the post button in here in this window. We can go back all the way to the transaction entry level, fix transactions, build and calculate again. So we can do this dance as many times as we need to. So here we've got our master switch for turning on direct deposit or off for this run. So if you have a special check run of bonuses, for example, and you want paper checks for those, you can make your direct deposit inactive for all employees right here. So this first step is just determining who has a direct deposit versus who's getting a check. And then we're going to print out our checks first, and we can tell what order we want them in. If we want them in something different than employee ID, we can set our next check number and our date that we need. I'll go ahead and print those. And I'm going to print to the screen, and I don't believe I'm going to get any paper checks, but it will tell me that. So there are no checks. Everybody's on direct deposit. So the check form itself can be modified to look however your existing check stock is, or it can be, you can use one of the GP defaults for that. So next is earning statements. And here's your direct deposit earning statements. You wouldn't necessarily have to print these all out if you're using some kind of an employee portal where they're going to go look at their own direct deposit. But here's a little bit of what it looks like. You've got your earning section, tax section, your deductions for the employee, and your employer paid benefits. And again, this can be modified. The labeling and wording can be modified. You can choose to print your time off or not, and you can choose whether you exclude those bank account numbers too. Okay, so the next step is just to post that payroll, and I'm not going to go through that because it just is basically takes a little bit of time, and it will print out a few more reports that are just the same as what you already saw. So I'll stop there and close this, and your next step after running payroll would be to create an ACH file, which GP will do that basically for any bank. You've got that here in the generate ACH. We've got ways to void checks, do manual adjustments if we need to, process your arrears for people that missed their checks. And this Payroll Accruals is part of the extended HR and payroll module. That allows you to do journal entries at the end of the month. If part of your pay period was in the previous month and you want to get all the appropriate expense into the previous month, you can use that Payroll Accruals for that. So I think that is most of what I wanted to show you. Just a quick view of reports. SmartList is a great tool. I do highly recommend getting the E1 SmartList Builder. GP does have the SmartList Designer built in. If you do get the Builder, all of these reports that you're seeing here are part of our Human Resources and Payroll Suite. So I've created these based on customer requests over the last 20 years of working with payroll and HR. So there are a lot of really great reports within this. One just quick feature, if you're not familiar with SmartList, you can do all kinds of searching, and you can change your columns to what you want included in your report. You can do some restrictions, and you can quickly export to Excel with a button click right there. So it's unlimited what you can do with reports with SmartList Builder plus SmartList. Also your SQL reporting services. And like I said, there's 300. I didn't get to really show you too many of them, but there's over 300 reports built into GP Payroll and HR. So with that, I think that's about the end of what I was going to show you. I'll just mention one more thing I didn't really get a chance to show, and that was the employee self-service that is part of GP. That's kind of another whole topic. So if you want to see more about that, we'll invite you to GPUG Summit or to another webinar in a future date. So, and also just to mention that with GP, there are lots of companion products. These are some of the most common ones that we see. Integrity Data has a lot of nifty little add-ons. We've even internally have 3 products built specifically for payroll and HR that just help keep your data consistent as well. So if you are looking to bring this in-house or need help getting a really good solution, be sure to talk to us. We'd be happy to help you. And if you are running GP payroll in-house and you're not completely happy with it, I also invite you to set up a time to talk, because likely we can help get things set up a little more efficiently or find a tool or a way outside the box to help you do what you need to do. So thank you very much for attending. Hope you enjoyed this little presentation. If you have questions, please let us know what they are. We'd be glad to answer, and I can stay on a little bit longer if we need to, and there is my contact info if you need it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sherlene. We did just get one question, which you may have already answered. Is there HR and payroll module training available?
Well, we, of course, would do training with you either on a one-on-one basis or as many people at your site as you want, and we can do that remotely or on site. There are also manuals online. Training manuals are available, and also really great resources like within the GPUG forum as well. You've got other users that you can bounce ideas off from. So great question. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. And it doesn't look like we had any other questions at this time, but you all will expect an email from me with a link to the recording. And if you have follow-up questions, feel free to email myself or Sherlene after this webinar.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a great day.